Sorry I had to start the video like that. I still got a little bit of phlegm left in my chest. Now I know everybody know I'm a huge Eagle fan since 1980. Been through the ups and downs of the Eagles. Um, you know, wins and losses. Um, but for me, being excited that the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I'm very ecstatic. But I don't know. I don't have that excitement like I did when they won the first championship. Cause maybe because we waited for so long, for nearly over 50 something years to win a title. And when we got the Super Bowl, it was just a monkey lifted off our backs. Now we go back to the Super Bowl uh, with Jalen Hurts and Devontae and A.J. Brown for the second time. We win it, and I'm watching it, and the feeling is ecstatic. But what makes me more happy is to watch Jalen Hurts. Now, I grew to like Jalen Hurts. When I first seen Jalen Hurts, I didn't know nothing about him, but I did know things about him, and I didn't realize that I used to watch him when he played for Alabama. This is before Tua became the starting quarterback. He got benched in the national championship. And I didn't recognize him at first until he took off his helmet. And I said, hey, that's Jalen Hurts. He used to play for Alabama. I'm like, wow. Then he went to Oklahoma. But I didn't know the Eagles drafted him. Because I don't know why I didn't know the Eagles drafted him. Because I actually watched the draft. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. Or maybe I wasn't in or maybe I was not in that area at the time of watching the draft. Because the draft doesn't excite me like it used to. I could wait for the draft. I used to watch college football all the time. I watched all the Hall of Famers come in to the NFL. And watching the draft now, it's not exciting as it used to be. They're trying to make the draft exciting by making it in different cities and trying to make it like a party. But they make it like a little miniature Super Bowl. But it's not exciting, so I don't watch it as much. So when I seen Jalen Hurts, I was like, oh, I remember Jalen Hurts. But see, the one thing about it is, right, when you are so used to seeing a player on your team, and Carson Wentz was still on the team, and he was given the keys to the team, and he struggled a lot. So, they gave after Wentz got hurt, Jalen Hurts got to try, and he struggled. And a rookie quarterback is going to struggle, you know. But through the couple of years, people got on Hurts saying Hurts shouldn't be here, and the fans that are out there, if they don't admit that they did not feel the same way I did about Jalen Hurts, y'all are lying. Because even when Carson Wentz got hurt and he came back the following year, and after Foles got hurt, people wanted Wentz gone. And this is how we are as Eagle fans anyway. We are I don't know what it is about us. We like to tear people down, you know, because once they got their chances and somebody else got a better chance and wins, we don't want that player here no more. And sometimes I can't figure it out. We just make up shit to make that player that used to play here don't like Philadelphia anymore. We did that to a lot of players throughout the history of the NFL. First started in 1933. So, like I was saying, I I grew to like Jalen Hurts a lot. I respect him. I think he's a great player. I think he's a very, very, he's very thoughtful. He believes in his religion, blah, blah. But the thing is that I am so happy that he got the MVP trophy. I don't care about the MVP trophy of the regular season. Everybody loved that Josh Allen got that MVP. I said, why are people so proud to get the MVP of the NFL, but not working hard enough to get the Super Bowl MVP? I know it's hard to get to the Super Bowl, but the one thing that Lamar Jackson said, he said he's not here to win MVPs. He's here to win Super Bowls. And I know Josh Allen's happy to get that MVP because he got the MVP the year before, but they gave it to I forgot who they gave it to. Gave it to Mahomes. But the thing is that to win a championship and win MVP, that's forever. Everybody gets a chance and a crack at the MVP of the regular season. You know, like any type of MVP that you go through high school, little league, if you are a star player, you're cracking, you're going to get that MVP. But for the championship, your name is forever talked about in that championship game because that will be shown over and over and over again. And all you will hear is Jalen Hurts, MVP. Just like they did with um, Nick Foles, MVP, forever. And for me to grow with Hurts and loving the way he carries himself and his work ethic, it was great that they brought A.J. Brown here because A.J. Brown was drafted. Jalen Hurts was there. That's his best friend. He was there when he got drafted. So that bond stayed with. I don't give a fuck if they argue or fight. Best friends always argue and fight. Especially us men. We don't stay hateful towards our male counterpart forever. We always say, okay, we squash the beef. Let's move on. Let's go out there and knock some heads. That's what we will do. You know? You know what I mean? Like we always use the old terms. Bros before hoes. That's the bro call. You know? So Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, then Devontae comes along. Young, very confident. He won the Heisman. Comes into the league and he just put the league on notice, called the Skinny Grim Reaper. You know what I mean? I call him a paper plane because he looks so. To me, when I see him get hit, I be thinking that he's gonna fall apart. But he reminds me so much. Everybody don't remember him because people don't like him. Who remember Todd Pinkston? If you remember Todd Pinkston, put down there Todd Pinkston because Todd Pinkston was the same size and probably the same height as Devontae Smith. And Todd Pinkston was a great receiver in college. But when he came to the Eagles, yeah, he played in the Super Bowl too. And I think he had a touchdown in the Super Bowl. And everybody forgot about Todd Pinkston. But that's who Devontae remind me of, but way better. Devontae's way better. But I wanted people to remember Todd Pinkston because I don't know if people remember because Todd Pinkston played for Tampa Bay Buccaneers too before he retired. I love this team because you win championships as a team, not individually. You got Barkley, 2,054 yards total, regular season playoffs, almost broke the record, but he didn't give a damn about the record. I'm telling everybody that he don't need to win the MVP. Even though he deserves to win the MVP, I said, get that Super Bowl ring, dog. Because the Giants can never say, well, he going to the Eagles, they paid all that money. Now, he didn't want a ring. Now he got a ring. He could throw that in the Giants' face with a big-ass smile. He don't have to break records. He don't have to do what he did this year, next year. He could slow down just a bit. But the reason why I say this team is better because I believe when you have a great defense behind your offense, you're going to win. Defense wins you championships. And I said this before a million times. Even when I played high school safety for my school, my coach always used to tell me, the offense is going to score points, but we got to defend all of the field to make other teams not be able to score. We keep points off the board, we win. Without getting penalized and all that kind of stuff that goes with it. That's what the Eagles did yesterday. That's what the Eagles did yesterday. They did that. They kept the other team, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Mahomes. People could talk about Mahomes being a cheater and all that kind. Listen, man, I respect Mahomes. Mahomes is a beast. He's young. He's a great passer. But he never, I'm trying to tell you, Tampa Bay did the same thing to him like the Eagles did to him. They rushed four, and they played four over the top. They played the shell. My fault, they played a shell. Because I used to play the same type of defense the Eagles play, but we played a different thing. We played in the monster. We played a thing called a monster defense. The same similar type of defense, but the thing we used to blitz our safeties. But this defense right here is one of the greatest defenses I ever seen in the NFL. And I've seen a lot of defenses, like the Pittsburgh defense, New England's defense. I've seen Tampa Bay's defense, seen the Eagles' defense. I see some great. I see the like, little Rams defense. I seen a lot of great. The Washington Redskins, the Giants. I seen all these defenses. I mean, back in the '90s and even in the '80s, I seen these great defenses. But the Eagles' defense is up there with the Ravens, the Panthers, the Rams. These 18 points a game. They only allowed 18 points a game in the playoffs. That's top five. You can't tell me nothing about the way this team came out and played last night. It's not because of the media, because the media can say what they want, but they don't put no pads on. You got the players play coaches, but when the players get on that field, the thing they're thinking about is getting that ring. Because they know it's a long ass game, and they got to put Mahomes on his ass. Because they asked Jalen Carter to say, yo, how do you stop Mahomes? You put him on his ass. And that's what they did. They only blitzed like 4 times. And the blitz didn't get to Mahomes. And I think Mahomes completed passes when they blitzed. But they got to Mahomes 6 times. Could have been 7. But Mahomes threw the ball away and it almost got picked. But Mahomes got sacked 6 times. So every drop back, he nearly got sacked. He had to run away from the defense. This is the defensive line. It's not a blitzing team that's coming from the right, the left, or the middle. They're rushing 4 and dropping their linebackers, dropping their safeties, dropping their corners, or letting their corners play man, or mixing it up, putting some zone back there, a little bit of man, put some high safeties back there, bring the safeties up. They were mixing it up. They were playing nickel and they were playing a little bit of quarter. They played so much nickel. That's all the Eagles play is nickel. They played a lot of nickel. Sometimes they'll play some dime. Sometimes they'll play some quarter. Usually they play quarter near the end of the game, or they're trying to protect, the clock. But the thing is that the Eagles kept on coming. And I loved it. That Fangio was like, listen, eat. When a defensive lineman here eat, and they're getting man blocking, they didn't do no zone blocking. There was no such thing as a zone blocking. It was straight man blocking. So it was one-on-ones. Could you just imagine being a defensive end and you're better than that offensive line in front of you, that offensive lineman in front of you, and you're going to beat that man with 2 moves? You're going to run underneath his shoulder, or you're going to go around him. That's the 2 things you can do. I mean, you could bull rush too, because most of the time that's what Sweat was doing. He was bull rushing like a motherfucker. Smith was bull rushing too. For him to be that size, well, he got a little bigger, because in college he was small as hell. But when he got into the pros, he wasn't that big, but he gotten bigger. And I love it that these players, they know that they need to get bigger and stronger to play against these offensive linemen that are bigger and stronger and faster now. You know what I mean? They know how to move their feet. That has a lot of good balance and know how to use their hands without grabbing. See, I'm a big Eagle fan. I know there's not a lot of Eagle fans out there. A lot of Eagle fans probably don't watch my channel. They probably watch other people's channel. But I know about my Eagles too. I know the history of the Eagles. When they started, the players that are in the Hall of Fame until now. It's nothing. I love football. I love the NFL. I love the Eagles, but I love the NFL. But the way the Eagles played last night still shocks me. Because I thought the Eagles will probably struggle. Because if they take away Barkley, Hurts had to carry him. See, me, being a former defensive player, my mindset is that Kansas City defense can take advantage of that because they blitz a lot. And Hurts has problems with the blitz. But this year, he has played better against the blitz. But having Barkley on the field, and even though Barkley didn't get that many yards, I think he only had 36 yards, he was still a decoy. And it brought that safety down. When you bring the safety down and play in the box, that's man coverage. because you're bringing both safeties. If you're going to leave one safety back, that's still going to leave the middle of the field open because that safety has to drop. Because he has to cover the middle of the field because he has to help. Now he has to come down if the ball's thrown in the middle and the ball's thrown deep. He has to cover the middle of the field. So when that safety comes down, probably at least about past the first down marker, Jalen Hurts has the advantage because he can use his tight end. He can run some real routes. That means the plays that go across the middle. Because all the plays that the Eagles ran, all the plays were in the middle of the field because there was no safety. Because the safeties were coming down in the box. And they had to help go and stop Barkley because they wasn't worried about Jalen Hurts. That's why Jalen Hurts was running all over the place because they thinking Jalen won't run, and Jalen was running all over the place because they were bringing that safety down. And once he played action, that made the linebackers go to Barkley. Then Hurts started running. He was a decoy, perfect decoy. That's why I love this team because once you do the option, which is everybody knows, grade school, even I played in high school, they ran the option. And you know what kind of option it is because are you going to pull or are you going to give? You're going to have that line, that defensive end come down, crash down. If he crashes down, you run with your quarterback. If he stays and he doesn't crash down, he plays the quarterback, you flick it to your running back. You could play. See, one thing about it is the Eagles do so well in certain things that it shocked me in that game. They didn't do none of this stuff in the regular season. I believe that Moore pulled out plays that he never used before. That's the reason why I think Barkley was getting stopped because they were using new plays. Because they're not going to use the same plays they used against the Redskins because that's the place that we call is going to use. Even during the season, but those are the plays that the Eagles played the week before. They're going to look at that and say, okay, this is how we're going to start Barkley. See how Barkley did this, how Barkley do that. But the Eagles try to do something new. But Spagnota, which I think he's one of the greatest minds in defense, did the smartest thing in the world. His defense played outstanding, even though that he gave up. Well, you're going to give up yards. You're going to give up yards because your offense is punting the ball. And now you're giving that team that you're punting the ball to good field position. And the Eagles had good field position through the whole game, except a few times when they punted it, to the 20. But the Eagles had some good field position. So the Eagles had, and plus it was a lot of turnovers, especially the turnover that Mahomes made when Bong intercepted the ball when Mahomes was in the end zone. Now, the Eagles had the advantage because now they know they have Mahomes like, God damn, he's seeing ghosts. When you got a quarterback seeing ghosts and doing happy feet, when that motherfucker's tap dancing, you got him. Or he don't know when to move up in the pocket. He don't know to break the pocket or stay in the pocket because a quarterback only has 3 seconds. Really, he has less than 3 seconds in the pocket. They say 3 seconds, but it's less than 3 seconds in the pocket. So when a quarterback drops back, he is trying to at least get about 5 seconds in the pocket. Mahomes will get 5 seconds in the pocket. He's one of the, and plus, honestly, Mahomes don't really need to have 5 seconds in the pocket because he can get the ball out like that. But the thing is, what the Eagles did, they put so much pressure on him, falling at his feet. Quarterbacks get uncomfortable when players fall at their feet. You see how Brady, when he tore his knee up, how Brady felt after he came back. Everybody was falling at his feet. He felt uncomfortable. Quarterbacks don't like defensive players falling at his feet. Regardless if there's an end coming around the end, and he's going moving in the pocket, and another all defensive lineman comes in and falls and goes at his feet because he got his legs hit a couple of times. Because they knew Mahomes needs to step in the pocket, which he's dangerous at doing. I know he can throw so many angles, but if you force Mahomes to not be able to play the way he wants to play, you could beat any quarterback in the NFL that's great. Happened to Joe Montana, Dan Marino, Tom Brady, you know what I mean? Fran Tarkenton, you know what I mean? Roger Staubach, Bot Starr. It happens to all the great quarterbacks. When you play a certain type of scheme, you throw out the scheme and say, you know what? All we're going to do the same thing the Giants did. Because the Eagles played the same similar defense as the Giants did in the Super Bowl when they beat Tom Brady. And they sacked Brady 5 times when they were undefeated. Remember when Brady was 18-0 and he went on this magical cheating run to get to the. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna disrespect Tom Brady. I like Tom Brady. He reminds me a lot of Joe Montana. But the thing is, when that run, they cheated to get to that Super Bowl, to get 18 wins. But that Super Bowl really proved to you when you don't have a running game, you can't win a game by passing the ball all the time. You can't. It's not the 1990s when Dan Marino was throwing for like 500 yards and throwing like 4 touchdowns or 6 touchdowns or 7 touchdowns a game. It wasn't like that. It's not like that no more because these defensive players are so fast and so good that they could cover anywhere on the field. So you have to have a running game to bring that safety out that backfield. Because that safety's sitting there. Them two safeties, you got them two high safeties back there. Them two high safeties are gonna sit back there and they're gonna help. If you're throwing the ball short, them linebackers are gonna be sitting there in the middle of the field and playing in the middle of the field. The quarterback has nowhere to go. He has to throw this probably to a short man or throw to his running back, hoping that his tight end can probably beat the zone and get into the middle of the zone and sit. But that's sometimes it's hard to find. And these linebackers are getting better at playing man. And you got now these defensive ends are dropping in zones. The defenses are getting better because you got these younger, stronger, faster players. It's not like the 90s when the Eagles used to play the Bear defense, the 46, which is really called a 4-4 defense, or a 5-5. You could use any type of defense that plays the Bear. You could just look at it like this. Like, the Eagles, all they did was blitz. And you know how the Eagles got beat with the blitz? Because they kept bringing the safety down in the box, being an extra man. And it'd be a jackal. You know what I mean? It could be a fox. They could bring them down, bang. Eagles leaving people wide the fuck open, or they play one-on-one defense and they can't cover one-on-one. You got Eric Allen on one side, you got Ben Smith on the other. Ben Smith getting burnt. You got Andre, if I keep calling him Andre. You got Wes Hopkins. You got Andre Waters. I did say his name right. Andre Waters playing back there. They're up there trying to kill everybody. But it's no trying to play the ball. So defense, once you play against a defense for a very long time that runs the same defensive scheme, you're going to eventually beat that defense. Like, you got to change your scheme up. The Eagles played terrible last year on defense. And I think it was because the team needed to lose. And honestly, last year, people hated the Eagles because of the way they lost. I wanted the Eagles to lose in the playoffs. I didn't want the Eagles to beat Tampa Bay. Because I wanted the Eagles to understand you can't win the way you're playing. Your defense is not good. Hurts is throwing picks like crazy. You can't run the football. Your offensive line is hurt. Anton Brown and Devontae is not playing well. Devontae got hurt in the middle of the season. Goddard got hurt. You didn't have a backup tight end. You didn't have a backup running back. You want to use Gainwell as a starter, but Gainwell wasn't a starter. So now, this year, they turned everything around and say, okay, we're going to get Barkley. We're going to try to find a third receiver, which I love Dotson, but I really think the Eagles should have probably went after Hopkins. I think Hopkins would have actually did a lot better for a third receiver than Dotson. He would have got the ball a lot more. Because you can see the way Hopkins can play. And I'm like, he would have been a great Eagle. But that's just my opinion. Or they could have went after Metcalf. But that's just my opinion. They would have put out a lot of money, or they probably would never got Barkley. But this is before they got Barkley. I wanted Metcalf. I wanted Metcalf more than I wanted anybody else. And I wanted Henry. This is before Barkley was going to leave the Giants, because the Eagles had an opportunity to get Henry because Dallas wasn't even in the mix yet. But Eagles got Barkley. Eagles were healthy this year. You got to understand, you got to be healthy if you want to go on a playoff run. If you're not healthy, you can't make a playoff run. And you could look at these teams that made the playoffs some of these teams were healthy, like Baltimore, you know, Rams, Washington, Detroit. The only team that was really actually hurt was Detroit. But Detroit, I believe Detroit played an easier schedule than all the other teams. I'm not hating on Detroit. People like Detroit. I don't know what people see in Detroit because I believe Detroit is never going to win a Super Bowl unless the NFL say, okay, we're going to give Detroit a Super Bowl. But you got to see what Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson did to Detroit and how, what they did to the NFL, not just the NFL, they did to the owners. They had to pay their money back. And I think after that, losing them two great players, I had opportunity to get a lot for them two players because I think they would have got a buttload of draft picks for Barry Sanders or Calvin Johnson. Because what they did with Stafford and got all them draft picks and got them good picks, they didn't do that to Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson, and they had opportunity to build that team into a contender, but they didn't want to. And I think that's the reason why they're never going to win. And I know Detroit fans are happy, but you can't win with the quarterback that they have. I'm not a Goff fan. Goff is a good quarterback. He's an average quarterback. He reminds me, what's his name? He used to play for the Eagles. And he was a real Bradford. He reminded me of Bradford a lot. And I know a lot of people don't know who Bradford is. He used to be a Philadelphia Eagle. And he had them high-ass shoulder pads that went all the way up here and shit. And he looked like he was like a 12-year-old playing in the NFL. And he was the number one draft pick. To the who? The Rams. And the Rams didn't even want him. So Goff was a first-round pick to the Rams. He took him to the Super Bowl, and what happened? The following 2 years, they got rid of him. Your organization can win games if you build from the offensive line to the defensive line, then your quarterback. You don't build a team first-round draft pick as a quarterback. That's not how you build your team. That's why a lot of these teams don't win championships because they think they need a quality quarterback to win. You don't need a quality quarterback to win a Super Bowl. You could win with Jeff Hostetler. Jeff Hostetler won a Super Bowl. The boy Wright that used to coach for the Eagles, he went to a Super Bowl. You got a lot of quarterbacks like Doug Williams. He won a Super Bowl. I could go on and on. Like Steve Young won a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? And these wasn't high draft picks. And these wasn't superstar quarterbacks. In college, they probably was, but not in the NFL. They wasn't high quality draft picks. They played for their team because Doug Williams played for Tampa Bay, and also Steve Young played for Tampa Bay. Doug Williams took Tampa Bay to the NFC Championship and lost. Steve Young struggled with Tampa Bay. They traded him to the 49ers. Steve Young started, he could still play, and he think he was better than Joe Montana. Joe Montana went to Kansas City. He took the role and won a championship. You don't just go, okay, we didn't know one draft pick will help us win a championship. Jalen Hurts was drafted number 53 overall, and the man won a championship. Brady drafted 100 and something pick, and the motherfucker won a Super Bowl. He won 7 of them, undrafted. I think, to me, he was undrafted because nobody didn't know nothing about him. They knew he played for Michigan because I watched him when he played for Michigan. He won a bowl game, so he was really average, but you could tell that he was probably going to be something. But now he's a Hall of Famer, probably argumental of he being the greatest quarterback of all time. But to win a championship in this day and age, you need to start with your offensive line. Because if you don't have a solid offensive line, you are not going to win a championship. And you don't get a solid running game because the running game protects your passing game. That's why when I play these video games, my first draft pick is a tackle. My second pick is going to be a motherfucking defensive tackle. Because you got to draft in the trenches. You don't fucking draft because you think that you need a star quarterback that can run 100 miles an hour and throw a ball 50 yards. That's not going to win you a championship. Because your quarterback has accuracy, has composure. Like, is he aggressive? Is he smart with the ball? Like, how's his arm strength? You got to know his agility. his speed. You gotta know all these things. You can't just say, okay, I want this quarterback and he got 99. That don't mean you're gonna win a championship with the motherfucker, man. If you get a solid offensive line, because your offensive line gotta protect your quarterback. Period. You need a solid running back. You don't have to get a running back that's 100. You get an average quarterback, an average running back that has at least about what a 70, and you probably can rush for over 100 yards. And then you go after your defense. You get solid defensive players. You don't need no 5-star defensive. This is not college. Everybody think pro football should be just like college because you got 5-star recruits. No, the college has 5-star recruits. They get a star recruit every fucking year when they do their recruiting. The NFL, they get them, but they don't look at them as 5 stars. They don't care if you got a 5-star over your head. They don't care if you're the best football player in the country. They don't care. They draft you to see where you are because a lot of these 5-star football players don't make it in the NFL. That's why I'm always like, why these players be drafted? These high players be drafted, and most of these players that are drafted high don't make it in the NFL. Like I said, I like Daniels. Take my boy Daniels that played for Washington. I like him. I don't want the NFL to ruin him. I don't want the organization to ruin him like they did Griffin. Because people forgot about Griffin. Griffin came out of college, one of the best quarterbacks of college football. He comes and plays for Washington, has a great rookie year, and then he got injured in the playoffs. No, in the regular season, then in the playoffs, he struggled. Then he was out for the season, and he didn't play well after that. This man could have had probably won a ring, but he never got a chance to because they ruined his career because they forced him to play. I don't want them to do that to Daniel. They do that to these young players. That's why a lot of these young players will be retiring so early. That's why you need to build your team up from the offensive line. See, that's why the Eagles won the championship because they still had the pieces from the old Super Bowl winning team like Johnson, Dickerson, and a few other players. But you also had, you brought in Malata, you brought in the ball, Becton. You have all these other great offensive linemen that they brought in. Becton, #1 draft pick to the Jets. Look at him now. They thought he was a bust. Look at that man. Look at Malata, former rugby player in Australia. Now this man might be a Hall of Famer. Johnson, everybody. He didn't allow a sack through the whole fucking playoffs. This man's going to be a future. Dickerson played with a back injury. Look at this man now. He got a ring. You got Carter coming from Georgia. You got Davis that had a sack yesterday. You had Smith that had a sack yesterday. You had 2 sacks yesterday. You had Sweat that had a sack. You had Bond that had an interception. You had Cooper DeJean have an interception and a touchdown on his birthday. Yeah, Gardner almost had a touchdown, but it was a penalty call. Mitchell got a touchdown on him because that was just later in the game. And they got a touchdown on him, but that was late in the game. It was by Hopkins. Like I said, I love Hopkins. And I wish he was an Eagle. Because I think he deserved a ring. But the Eagles won because they were a team. And people need to give Jalen Hurts his respect, dog. Stop saying this man can't win. People love it's like, I'm sorry to say it as a race thing. I believe that they don't want the black quarterback to be successful, but Mahomes is a black quarterback. And Russell Wilson was a black quarterback. It's like, it don't make any sense to me. You got a black successful quarterback, but you don't talk about Mahomes like a black man, like he will do Jalen Hurts. And it hurts for me to watch this and say, damn, they talk about Mahomes on the screen. Mahomes is great. I know Tom Brady. I don't think Tom Brady can stand Mahomes, but I think that Tom Brady does that because they told him to say these things. Because Tom Brady, if you get the real Tom Brady will tell you how he feel. But he said, okay, blah, blah, blah. But the one thing that I love what Tom Brady said, he loved the fact that Jalen Hurts won that fucking MVP. Now people gonna leave him the fuck alone. He put up I love that picture, and I'm going to get a shirt with that picture on it when Jalen Hurts has that trophy in his hand and he's looking at it, and I'm gonna get the other one with Foles holding the trophy up. I love that shit. Because now you got one quarterback that everybody didn't understand why he got traded after he won 27-7. Then you get Hurts. Everybody hated him, didn't want him, wanted him to be traded, just like they did with Wentz. And to this very day, people still say Wentz was a bum, but without Wentz, we would have never had a fucking Super Bowl ring. Nick Foles didn't come in and win 12-1. And we would have known what would have happened if he never broke his leg. We never would have known what happened if he broke his leg. We don't know we would have went on the stretch and never lost the game after that. Because Wentz was on a roll. Remember, that motherfucker won 6 motherfucking national championships in college. You don't know what that motherfucker would have did. He probably would have went off and became MVP and won the fucking Super Bowl. We don't know. Because nobody could stop Wentz. He averaged 34 points a game that year. But everybody did the same to Wentz that they did to Jalen Hurts. When Hurts won, everybody like, did you see Wentz? Look at him. He up there crying. I'm like, leave Wentz alone, man. Leave the man alone. We would not be holding up our first trophy without Carson Wentz. He went 11-1. When Nick Foles came in, he struggled. He almost lost to Atlanta. He beat the Vikings because the Vikings never beat anybody in the playoffs. He beat a New England Patriot team that didn't expect the Eagles to throw the ball like they did and run the ball like they did. And Foles was killing them. And you had Blunt, you had Clement. They were up there killing them. You know what I mean? You had Torrey Smith. You had Jefferson. Jeffries. Keep calling him Jefferson. You had Jeffries. They were killing them. You had Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz had big catches in the game. We got to give credit what credit's due and stop looking at it like we got to put somebody down because that person didn't win a championship. It's unfair. Because what would happen if Hurts got hurt and then Pickens came in and did the same thing as what Nick Foles did? People would be up there celebrating Pickens and hating on Jalen Hurts because this is what some Eagle fans do. And it drives me crazy sometimes being an Eagle fan. We think that we need to win with one person in order to call that person great. But we can't give any credit to that person that took us to that point before they got hurt for another person to come in and take over and win. And you got Nick and Wentz up there friends because Nick Foles left because the Eagle fans kept jumping on Wentz and talking about his wife and kids. For what? If Wentz did not play that full season, the Eagles would have never won the Super Bowl. Period. And people know this shit. If Foles didn't play, if Hurts didn't play this whole full season, like when he lost against Washington, just imagine if they would have had him out for the season. You think Pickett would have took the Eagles to the Super Bowl? Hell no. I don't care if we have motherfucking Barkley back there. We would never won the Super Bowl without Hurts. When Hurts got hurt by Washington with that concussion, I'm like, if he got a serious concussion, this man might be out for the season because they're so worried about how football players are getting concussions like Tua. They didn't want Hurts to get that same type of concussion because they would have said he would have been out for the year, and he probably would have never played in the playoffs because the signs and symptoms that Tua went through, Tua was out for almost a season. And Pickett wasn't going to win, or McKee wasn't going to win the Super Bowl. They probably would have won us some games, but we would have never won the Super Bowl. We probably would have lost some games that we needed to win to get to the playoffs, and we would have made the playoffs. We wouldn't have had the seed that we had without Jalen Hurts. Just like I said about Wentz. If Wentz did not play, we would have never had number one seed. We would have never been 11-1. we would have never had opportunity to have Nick Foles come in and play the rest of the season to get to the playoffs, to beat Atlanta, to beat the Vikings, to beat the Patriots, to win the ring. So hating on Wentz shouldn't be something people should do. We should be actually bringing Wentz back and cheering that motherfucker. Yes, he had a career after when he broke a bone in his back, and he was struggling, and he was dealing with all this different types of stress and depression because the fans turned on him because he didn't win a Super Bowl. He tore his fuck. He tore like so many muscles in his knee. No fan cared about his injury. See, this is the reason why I hate being an Eagle fan sometimes. Because Eagle fans don't know how to say, okay, let's give him his props. We'll praise some bum, but we won't give a player a true compliment. Like, we should give Wentz a compliment. So what? He's a crybaby. You got fucking Antonio Brown up there running around with no shirt on. He won a Super Bowl, and people sit up here. They talk about it, but he doesn't give a fuck. Yes, Wentz has feelings. Yes, he was born in a Christian church setting. Yes, he has feelings. Football players have feelings, dog. We should respect him for helping us, helping the Philadelphia Eagles get to the Super Bowl for us to win the Super Bowl. Because every time I think about it, I say, damn, we didn't have Carson Wentz for 11 fucking games, we would have never won the Super Bowl. People were like, oh, well, Foles would have. No. It wouldn't have happened like that. Because Wentz had to get used to playing football again because he didn't play football in 2 years when he came to the Eagles. When he came to the Eagles, he didn't play in 2 years. He had to get used to playing football and getting hit again. Just imagine him coming back into a game and he has to get used to getting hit for weeks on end. We could have lost a lot of games. And then he would have probably started getting used to playing and getting better near the end of the season, which you don't want. You want to have a number one seed. And the Rams were the team that we had to compete against in the NFC that year. Even though the Rams didn't make the playoffs, I think the Rams got put out in the playoffs. I think they got put out of the playoffs by, the Vikings. Or was it Orlando? Was it New Orleans? No, I think it was New Orleans, I think. Because New Orleans ended up getting beaten by the Vikings, and the Vikings ended up playing the Eagles. I just want the Eagles to give Hurts. I want Eagle fans to give, and I want the whole NFL to give Hurts his fucking props, man. He won the MVP. He is the best quarterback in the NFL when you win that MVP. I don't give a fuck about that National Football MVP, regular season MVP. No, the MVPs that make you the best quarterback in the whole NFL is when you win that Super Bowl, when you win that Lombardi trophy. Because when you win that Lombardi trophy, you put that Lombardi trophy in the air, you are the best player in the fucking world. You're the best team in the world. He won that trophy. And he won that MVP. Give him his respect. This is what I love about this team. And this team can probably repeat. But they got to stay healthy. You know? And I really believe they need a backup running back. I love Gainwell, but I still think they need a power back. And I think they need another receiver. And they need to get fucking Garrett. Because I believe if they talk about Graham might come back, if Graham retires, the Eagles need a defensive end. Even though they can use Sweat, but I think the Eagles can need to have Garrett play defensive end. And you can still have Sweat play up. You can still play the 3 technique. You know what I mean? He still played the 3. But I'm still saying, like, just get Garrett. Because the Eagles will go back to the Super Bowl if they get Garrett. They get another back. They get a third back. They get another receiver. They get a backup tight end that actually has some good-ass hands. Because I like the other ball. But they still need a backup tight end. They need that back corner. Even though they got a whole bunch of... I think Ringo is a good corner. but I still think they need a little more depth. They need depth at safety. Most definitely need some depth at safety. You know, because Brown is good, but Brown doesn't really play. And you have what's the other boy there? I can't stay. I don't know why people like him. I don't like him. I forgot his freaking name. Number 29. Damn, I know his name, but it's not hitting me right now because I'm hungry as hell and I need to eat some. But that's all I gotta say, yo. I love my Eagles win. Thank you for all the fans out there, the real, true Eagle fans that represent the green and the silver. I mean, it's been a long ride this year. Football season's over, so no more Sundays and Mondays and Thursdays and Saturdays. We gotta wait another 8 months. It might be shorter than that because you know how football. Once once May come, football's gonna come pretty soon. At least we got the UF, you got the XFL or the USFL. I don't know if people watch that. Um, you still got the draft that's going to be in Green Bay. You still got the free agents coming out in April. Um, it's going to be a long season. Football starts September 5th, so we don't know who's going to be playing the first game because they ain't bringing out the schedule until later down a little bit later than down the road. So I think a lot of people probably do know the schedule because some people get the schedule a lot earlier. But, I know the Eagles are playing the Kansas City Chiefs again. And the Eagles are going to be probably playing Detroit this year. But football season's over. But it's a relief sometimes for me because at least I know that we won. So the off season to me is just, okay, let's get some pieces so we can rebuild the pieces that we lose to build another Super Bowl contender. So we got a little bit ways to go, but we'll be okay. I'm just happy that the Eagles got that Lombardi, the second one. We're right behind Washington now because Washington won 3. So if we get one more, we could tie with Washington, and they can't talk shit about us only having 2. So and you got the Giants that got 5, and you know what Dallas got. No, 4 Giants got 4. Dallas got 5. But we're right behind them. And we're the only division in the NFL that every single team in the NFC East has won a championship. There's no other division like that. Well, it's no other division like that. I was going to say the AFC East. I forgot about Buffalo never won a Super Bowl. All right, everybody. Subscribe. Check me out sometimes. I do play video games on here. Please. I'm not really good at video games like that. Except I play Streets of Rage. I got this game called Control. I got a couple of games like I play Grand Theft Auto, but I don't play online. I don't like playing online because everybody kills me. And shit. So I don't be on the game that long. So I got a lot of games that I play. So if you want to subscribe because I play video games, or you want to subscribe because I talk like this, I'm trying to make another channel so I could just do politics and NFL and sports and shit. So I can keep my video games separate. I'm trying to get back on Twitch, which I do have a Twitch account, but I haven't used it in so fucking long. So please subscribe to my channel. If not, have a God bless day, night, whatever where you from. North, south, east, west. Peace.